If you guys don't know me, my name is Rebecca Tennell, and I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator here at Chapman. And like I said, it is wonderful to see you guys tonight. We always love when we can get an open house, so it's very exciting. And tonight is a very special presentation as part of our series Conversations with the Past. We are going to hear from Mark Donohue and Amy LaPoint, who are both associated with the Adirondack Balloon Festival. He's joined by Amy, who is a member of the Balloon Festival's organizing committee, and she's also the author of Pilot Memoirs, which came out in 2023. So tonight they're going to be sharing kind of the history of this beloved festival. It's in its 51st year. Wow. They're going to be sharing some of the stories that are in the book that they collected for that book, as well as I'm sure discussing the hard work that goes into putting on this event year after year. So now I will turn it over to you guys for your presentation.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And we'll try to, I think Amy knows this too well, but to try to capture 50 years and my passion for this in an hour is like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's not possible. Maybe 3 hours to start. But we have some gifts for the Chapman. So at the end, we're going to do some presentations for you as well. So once again, my name is Mark Donohue. This is Amy LaPoint. I don't like to refer myself as president, kind of jack of all trades, I would say. It's more like it, from picking up trash to looking for lost children to trying to help pilots get crew. So kind of do whatever is needed at the time, you know. That's what we all do. That's what this committee's about. This event kind of started in the early 70s out of a way to expand tourism for Warren County past Labor Day. It was a way they wanted to expand well into the fall to draw people for the fall. And Glens Falls JCs is a group that actually started it. And Amy will talk about this more in the book and one of the first pilots that came here. But that mission's really never changed when you think about it, because we had an amazing experience this year, which tells you everything. It became a bit of a crisis early in the year. No hotels wanted to give us any rooms this year because they can make too much money on the public. So we could not find hotels to house our pilots. So like, what are we going to do? We had I sent an RFP to 32 hotels. 3 responded, and each gave us 20 rooms. Well, we need 300 to 400 rooms. That's not going to cut it. So more power to hotels. We found a solution on our own, and it actually makes our life easier. We're not booking hotel rooms anymore. We're giving pilots lodging checks. So they're going to get a lodging allowance check when they register. And many of them, it's off season, so they got houses on the lake and other things like that, that then their entire crew can be with them together as opposed to in separate hotel rooms. And knock on wood, it ended up being a wonderful thing and everybody likes it. So you get lemons, you make lemonade, and that's what we did. So, and then you're not dealing with phone calls about, I need a handicap room, or I need a room that I can put my dog in, or that's the kind of stuff jack of all trades we do. So anyway, but that's just a sidebar, but it shows you how successful this event's really become. It's really astounding. It really is. And the advent of social media has just taken us to another level, and it's just amazing. And that is so much about why we have the technology. The photos today are astounding and all that. And you look at the quality of Amy's book, it's amazing. This is, as I say, that's the ultimate coffee table book for me, because you can pick it up and read one page, put it down, or you pick it up and read the whole thing. And I can tell you, I know, because my scrapbooks, I know most of the pilots for years and years. There's things in there I never knew about some of the pilots. So it's very interesting to read into it. So without further ado, I'll come back. I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk about the book. But to just show you some ideas of what you're looking at up here, I'll just take a minute to show you. And feel free to look at these after. This is a very limited edition photograph taken by a French-Canadian balloonist and photographer from Saint Jean sur Richelieu, which has its own balloon festival that started because of us. It became Canada's largest balloon festival. It's not that far over the border, maybe a half hour over the border. It's in August. He came down here after we started that event, and he took this for our 20th anniversary, and it's still my favorite picture of the festival ever. It's just a stunning cap of what the valley looks like in our scenery. So here, we couldn't figure out what to display, but this is pretty monumental to me, and we just thought this was pretty special. This is 1973. My mother started collecting scrapbook of all the newspaper clippings when the event started. And this is some of the clippings she took for the first year. So it'll tell you as you look at it, pictures of the early balloonists and what the balloons looked like back then and some of the experiences they had. But boy, it's amazing what the world was like back then compared to today and what ballooning was like. It was very free-spirited individuals who started ballooning, and it was nice to see many of them last year when they came. Obviously, we still have the book for sale. If anybody didn't get it, I highly recommend that. By the way, Amy spent 4 to 5 years of her life on this. In researching with pilots, it's just amazing the effort she put into this, and the result is just astounding. And she did this for free, by the way. She did this as a volunteer, as we were all volunteers. That's duly noted. This is as you all may know, very well-renowned Lynn Benevento. Lynn helped us start our first art show of ballooning. My God, I date myself. It's probably been 15 years by now. And she has done, I would say, at least 30 very unique balloon paintings through the years. And last year, we commissioned her to do a 50th anniversary painting for our 50th anniversary in our gala, which sold for almost $3,000 to support the festival, which is pretty amazing. She did this back in 2011, not knowing the importance and significance of it would be last year, because this is a painting of many of the balloons that were here from 73 to 1980 in the original balloons of the event. So it has a lot of meaning to all of us, especially this, which Amy will talk about a lot. That is the balloon Punchinello that first inflated in Glens Falls in 1972 at Queensbury School. And so it's very special that he's in there. That's one of our original balloons, as well as this one, this one, this one. This gentleman was here in the 80s and was killed in Belarus in a gas balloon in the 1980s. So he has his own renowned story to tell. And these two balloonists were from Schenectady, and that's our own Tom Ford right there. God love him. That's his balloon. It wasn't his at that time, but it's nice that he's in there. He bought that from the gentleman he learned to fly from. So just give you an idea of what's up here. And Amy's going to do a PowerPoint of pictures from the book and talk more about some special things from the book.
Okay. So I can't go off the cuff. I got to read it. Sorry, you guys. I want to share some stats and stories from the book. So I'm not going to get into my history or the process that I went through to create this beautiful memoir. I will say that my ballooning journey began at the age of 7. I instantly fell in love. And to this day, when I see a balloon in the air, my heart soars. You can read how this book came to be in the front of the pilot memoirs if you're interested. This cover of the book was taken by Will Cook, one of the photographers of the festival. So a bit of history. The first time John Marsden brought his Punchinello to Glens Falls was in 1972. He inflated it at the Queensbury High School. There was a line of cars that kept pulling over. Just think of never seeing a hot air balloon and coming upon one. The decision was made to begin a festival in 1973. The organizers decided on October, as the foliage would be spectacular. That initial year, there were 14 to 18 balloons. We don't have the exact number because there wasn't a program. The first program was in 1974. However, not all of the pilots were included. If the balloon was sponsored, it made the program. If it wasn't sponsored, well, it didn't. There were several pilots I came across who flew in this festival, but there is absolutely no record of them. This book is almost 300 pages long. There are 92 pilots whose memoirs are shared. 9 of those pilots were here the first year. 3 of those, the family and friends contributed for them. In section 2 of the book, there is a list of pilots who have ever attended, although incomplete, I'm sure, a photo of every program, a section to honor the crew, a section of a few special stories, pictures of some of the special shapes that have flown here, and a special thank you at the end. There are so many wonderful memories to share with you all. So many friendships were made between pilots and sponsors, landowners, and spectators, some of whom became crew for those pilots. This is the first color photo and the post-star. It is Ralph Hall's Damn Yankee balloon. We believe this is the second color photo to hit the local press. There have been over 500 balloons that have taken to the skies at the Adirondack Balloon Festival these past 50 years. It has become a favorite to many of the pilots. There is no pressure to fly. The theme tends to be a fun flying festival where they have a great time with their crew and sponsors. This is Mark's favorite picture of Punchinello. I'd like to give you a look into a few of the pages of the pilot memoirs. The following is taken from John Marsden's page in his words. I've had so many fun experiences at ABF. Here are a few. During a competition, I dropped a skydiver from 5,000 feet so he could land on the exact spot where we were supposed to drop a bag of flour. Yes, he hit it, and yes, we were disqualified. We picked veggies from a garden without touching down on the how many different kinds of leaves can you pick race. They touched down in the Hudson River, and they shared champagne with the cows. This picture is kind of a little bit blurry, but it's one of the first pictures of the first year taken by Michael Fairbanks. He flew here the first year with his dad, Anthony, and here's an excerpt from his page. Michael loves the friendliness of the spectators here at Adirondack. He appreciates the community's enthusiasm and warm greeting the balloonists receive upon landing. Another reason he enjoyed flying here was the fact that from 1973 to 1975, ballooning was quite restricted in the United States due to such a small number of pilots. This would be the very first experience for many of the pilots to fly together. The changing colors of the trees in the fall was another draw for the Fairbanks to come here and fly in Glens Falls. At the 10th anniversary of the Adirondack Balloon Festival in 1983, his father, Tony, cold inflated the La Coquette gas balloon inside the Glens Falls Civic Center. La Coquette was the balloon used in the movie Around the World in 80 Days. There were this is the first program of 1974. There were several home-built balloons in the early years. Rudy Schwenker and Jim Sutherland took classes and built their first balloon. Brian Boland created a book that taught someone how to build a hot air balloon. And there are several pilots in this book who brought Brian's book and actually built and flew their experimental balloons here. Paul Stumpf is a pilot who has a business not only building balloons, but also helping other pilots build their own. And to this day, there are other pilots doing the same. There's a group of builders that go on Wednesday nights to Murphy's Landing. Mm-hmm. Now, in the early days, this is Rudy Schwenker and Jim Sutherland flapping air into the envelopes before they had the fans. And this is that's their home-built balloon, and Ralph Hall's Damn Yankee. So from Peter Rooney's bio, this is a famous photo going around that included Peter in a compromising position. Sundance hovered over an outhouse, and Peter was climbing down the ladder from the balloon to take care of business. Peter won the Sportsman Award at the 1976 Adirondack Balloon Festival for that stunt. This is Michael and Tony Fairbanks' Ladybug, Walt Thompson's Faultless, and Paul Mooney's Moon balloon in the back. I'm not really sure who that one was. Sam Calley's Molly Brown and Walt Thompson's Buoyant Breeze, John Marsden's Punchinello, and Bill Hughes's Seagull is not pictured here. In 1976, they were in a race on Lake George in February. There was no race, so they flipped a coin and Walt Thompson won. He actually gave it to the festival last year. He gave us that lovely award. This is a newspaper article from February 8th, 1976. Seagull and Punchinello are in the foreground. Bill Hughes flew here from 1973 to 1977 when he moved away, and then he came back for the 10th anniversary to be the Balloon Meister. He ended up moving back up and was Balloon Meister for 20 plus years. Bill has helped many individuals pass the knowledge exam for their private and commercial certificates and has instructed many to become pilots. Malcolm Forbes, Carol Teetsworth, and David Blaine, to name a few. Carol Teetsworth has been flying at the festival since 1978. That year, he also created the Liberty Balloon School, which is a ground instructor school for lighter than air student pilots. He ran it until 2002 when Bill Hughes bought it, and then Rick Jones is running it currently. This is the 1975 program. That was another, we had a really big one, but it was just not enough room.
Poster too. Oh.
Big poster, yeah. Okay, this is another first year pilot, Alan Emer, and his balloon, Samuel Moray, to the left, and two more home builts to the right. I believe the small white one was called the Goblin. Let's see. These are some 1970s photos. Paul Stumpf took this picture. Bill Hughes' Seagull, Peter Rooney's Sundance, Harry Repak's Odyssey, Aaron Brody's Hula Balloon, the blue and yellow one. He also participated that first year. This is Brian's construction manual. Believe it or not, people did buy it.
He brought the first airship here in 75, I think it was.
Was it 75?
Yep.
This is Brian's home-built Fred, too, and Brian being interviewed by a reporter. 1977's program. Paul Stump has shared many of his beautiful photos in the earlier days at ABF, and we are grateful for his contribution to the 50th anniversary. Many are included in this PowerPoint presentation.
Paul was from, can I just plug in?
Yeah, no,
Paul
definitely.
was from Rhode Island, and he was a teenager in those years. And he's since moved to Andover, Vermont, probably about 15 years ago, and now has one of the premier balloon repair stations and does annual FAA annual inspections for most people's balloons in the Northeast.
Yeah, he's a great guy. This is his home-built Scat 2 with the green and red stars. Paul said that in the early years of the festival, there were several competitions. Two in particular were my favorites, the leaf picking and the crepe paper contest. In the leaf picking contest, the winner would be whoever came back after their flight with the most different varieties of leaf species. However, at some point, some participants decided it was a contest to see who could bring the largest amount of tree parts back. After the flight, pilots would return to the launch field, baskets looking like giant flower vases with tree branches protruding wildly outward like giant bouquets. I think the organizer thought some of the competitors were a bit out of control during their low-level tree harvesting activities. Eventually, the contest was eliminated. The crepe paper contest was also fun. Balloonists would form two teams. After the initial inflation of the two balloons, they would have about 150 feet of crepe paper tied basket to basket. And the contest winner would be the pair that would fly the longest without breaking their crepe paper connection. Paul loves the people, the place, the time of the year the Adirondack is held. The Adirondack Balloon Festival combines a stellar lineup of great balloon pilots supported by an enthusiastic local population, perfect hot air balloon flying countryside, and crisp early autumn mountain and valley scenery. The festival attracts a wide variety of hot air ballooning personalities, including national and international celebrity status pilots and hot air balloon enthusiasts from all walks of life. Being one of the largest balloon festivals in the country, the Adirondack Balloon Festival is a photographer's dream. Mass ascensions and stunning fall scenery have resulted in some of the best hot air ballooning photos I have ever seen. The Adirondack Balloon Festival has allowed me to share my love of ballooning with literally hundreds of friends, family, and fellow balloonists. Several hot air ballooning families have thrived and grown up at the festival. Year after year, I've watched children and grandchildren follow in their hot air balloon pilots' footsteps to become pilots themselves. So this is Paul's basket. He has many accolades, but this is the very first glass bottom basket in the world. It's pretty cool. I don't know if I'd want to fly in it. I don't know if it's for me. Jim Eiler, he came the weekend before one of the festivals to promote it. It was a total washout. So he and George Utter posed for this photo to give the local papers something to write about.
That's at the Queen. If you notice, you know that building, that's Queensbury Hotel.
That's the Queensbury Hotel. I think that was one of the original hotels that the
Yes, it
pilots
was.
stayed at.
For probably a good 20 years.
This festival flew from ACC's campus in the early days. Now, do you know the time, the dates?
I could not find the exact date.
We tried to find the date.
77, 78 is when it shifted.
Yep.
It first shifted to the field across the airport, but then it shifted to the airport 77 or 78 for the weekend, but stayed at the college
Friday nights for a
until
while.
early 90s, I think.
Yep. This is to show you that sometimes these pilots need help retrieving their balloons. This one I'm pointing out the fan. It made the pilots and crew's lives much easier than flapping the air into the mouth of the envelope. Oh, this is the first special shape, I believe, the saucepan.
Yeah.
I believe it's the first special shape.
It was from Germany.
And he is, yeah. Spirit of Glens Falls on the program cover. And Whiteman Chevrolet was and continues to be a huge sponsor for the festival.
The biggest.
Yeah.
It's very, believe it or not, and this goes back to the testimony of Bob Whiteman. They donated that van to the balloon festival for that balloon, free of charge. Free of charge.
But you had to give it back, huh?
Yeah. And to this day, Friday, I will be picking up a brand new Chevy Silverado that they deck out with graphics for me for the week. And it becomes my mobile office for the whole week. And they give us $7,500 to run the event.
Which is awesome.
I'm devastated to hear they're being sold because it's going to have a huge, could have a huge impact on us.
Mm-hmm.
Huge impact on us. She's just wonderful people. Oh, and remember,
Want to go
in
back?
2 years, I had to tell the city this because nobody seemed to know this. We have to have a big unveiling in City Park. Because when the Spirit of Glens Falls debuted in City Park, there was no trees then. So they were able to inflate the balloon in the City Park right at Crandall Library. And there's a time capsule buried with a little monument somewhere. I've got to go find it. And we have to do an unveiling of that at probably, I think it's 26 Balloon Festival.
That's cool. This is Lynn's painting, early painting that's right down here. This is Malcolm Forbes Chateau. I'm sure if anybody has been to the festival, ever remember it. It's a favorite special shape. And to the right is that it was on the 1970 or 1985 program cover. This photo shows the campers to the runway to the right, the spectators, and the last of the balloons inflating for this particular launch.
And sadly,
Isn't that a
no more
great picture?
RVs.
Yeah, I know.
Sadly, no longer will have RVs. The airport,
Good to see you.
the airport is putting in a solar farm where the RV park always has been. It's currently under construction. So we worked with the FAA to find a different location, and the FAA said no because of just logistics and sensitive equipment and affecting IFR instrument planes coming in on IFR. So we're not able to do it. So their RV park is no longer, sadly. They can still come park with spectator parking, but they can't stay overnight anymore.
Yeah. This is Dave Stevens' Colt airship. Several hot airships have flown here, and some had races between them. Dave likes the fact that the festival was close to where he lived, and the town of Queensbury always embraced the balloonists. So this is Dave's balloon inside the other one. One of his favorite experiences was one foggy morning, I inflated my home-built AX3, that's the smaller balloon size, named Kumquat, inside a yellow and green home-built AX10, the much bigger one, owned by Jim Sutherland and Bill Stanky. That would have been cool to see, I think. This is Toot Sweet. I also won a Hare and the Hounds race by putting Toot Sweet, my zigzag barns, into the top of a lone tree in a field to stop my forward progress. Photographer caught the moment the balloon was about 45 degrees from vertical and it hit the AP wires across the US. Of course, it was labeled a crash and not the clever tactic I employed to win the competition.
You'd be amazed though, but when you're learning to fly, you are taught to go into trees if you need to slow down. It's part of your training. It is part of training.
Crash.
Yeah, that's the problem today with social media. It's always not always interpreted the way it really is.
Ted Hunziker, his most memorable experience flying here at ABF was launching his 21,000 cubic foot home-built balloon named Red Cloud from the shore of Lake George. He landed in a small boat on the lake, and he said his balloon never got wet. I don't know about that.
That's why right there.
I don't know. This in 1982, this was an art project that several pilots participated in. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure who started that
Paul
project.
did.
I think Paul probably
Paul
did.
did, yep.
All right.
I think he was in design school or something.
Yeah, he went to the RISD. Pardon? So they inflated all these other little balloons. They attached them to the top of their envelopes, and they obviously had helium in them. So they were, I don't know, it's just something cool that they did. So, okay. Next one, 1983, this was taken. You can go to the next one. Okay, this was also taken in 1983. It's a great picture of the runways, cars, spectators, and the airplane.
Yeah.
And the airplane to the left.
And imagine today, all those runways are now full. We use every ounce of those runways
yeah.
for parking.
Yeah.
For the last 4 years, we have shut down Saturday evenings at capacity.
This is the
Quarry.
quarry Splash and Dash. That's the quarry. So this is Private Eye. This is Bob Dix. He's the current balloon meister of the festival.
Oh, yeah.
He began ballooning because his wife wanted to come and take photos of the balloons. One morning, the balloons flew over Hudson Falls. They chased it and helped pack up. Bob took a flight and the rest is history. Bob served as the executive director of Favia, the first air voyage in America 200 in 1993, and Favia 225 in 2018. He has flown all of his 5 balloons here over the past 43 years. And this is 1993. He flew with Scott Kelly in a replica basket and a gas balloon as part of the Favia 200 celebration. Bob says every flight at this festival is memorable, from the mountains and the lakes in the distance to the beautiful farmland. The scenic beauty is hard to beat. There have been so many delightful landowners who are enthusiastic about the festival. I had one landing where a horse came down and nibbled at my basket. We love this festival because it is a local hometown event. The people come out at 6 a.m. in the morning to see balloons to fly, which doesn't happen in a lot of places. The best thing is that there is no charge for admission. What a pleasure it has been to bring so many smiles to faces as a part of this wonderful festival. It is the largest nonprofit balloon festival in the country. And that's true.
They couldn't fly that year at the festival because it was raining. So they came back in October and flew out of in the front of the Y in Brindle Park and landed on Gansford Road. I chased my bike.
You chased on your bike. Scott Kelly, who also flew the balloon, loves the fact that Adirondack is free to the public and has great crowds. He has met some wonderful landowners while flying here. On a clear day at 5,000 feet, you can see Canada, Mount Marcy, the Adirondack Mountains, the Green Mountains, the Catskills, the White Mountains, the Berkshires, Lake George, and Lake Champlain. A sight to behold for sure. This is the 1993 Glens Falls calendar.
Glens Falls National has done that calendar for us for 43 or 44 years. It's astounding. And they're 51-year sponsor of the event.
So you might have more to share about this. Glens
yeah.
Falls and Saga, Japan are two cities in the Sister City program. Tom Ford was a teacher and a pilot who helped with the exchange program for the schools. There were several pilots who have flown in Saga from the Adirondack Balloon Festival. Bill Hughes, Russ Barber, Mike Ranieri, Mark Donohue, Joe Schwarman were just a few. There probably is a lot more.
Not really.
Not really?
It's very select because we always had limited money to bring people. But the whole Sister City exchange program started because of the Balloon Festival. And that expanded into the schools and everything else. But this is how it started.
Do you know who started it?
Ironically, yes. I know the group. Millie was involved. Millie Coe's been involved since day one. That's an older picture of Millie, but she's right there. Sitting next to me. Yeah, well, it used to be me. I used to look like that. Mary has been the godchild of making this happen every year with the school exchanges and everything. She's just an amazing individual. Yeah, Karen Pratt. Yeah, Karen Pratt. Yeah, not yet, but Karen Pratt is the current president. Sadly, Lynn just died. Lynn passed away this year, and her memorial is going to be Balloon Fest weekend. Her daughter's coming to town, and her memorial is going to be Balloon Fest weekend. So it's very fitting. But Lynn was involved in the early days with Millie from day one. Yep. So her daughter now lives in Burlington, and she's coming home. I think it's going to be Saturday evening of Balloon Fest is when they're going to do her memorial, which is kind of fitting.
Oh.
Yeah. So just wonderful exchange. They brought kids from Glens Falls was the last school exchange this past, it was just last year, I think. They brought over 20 kids. And they had a good group. They had a lot of good fun. We're talking probably next year about going back with a balloon. Not concrete yet. They were supposed to come for our anniversary, but there's been some confusion that they're saying they can't fly Japanese pilots in the States anymore, and I don't understand this. And Millie's trying to help me interpret their concerns because I've talked to RFAA and they have no concerns at all. So I don't really know what we're trying to get to the bottom of there's a language barrier of understanding here because we did have legislative changes by the federal government for balloon licensing in the last few years where commercial flying pilots now have to have a medical certificate that they never used to have before. Other parts of airplane pilots have to have a medical certificate. Balloonists never had to until a few years ago. So if you're flying paying passengers, you now have to have a medical for a balloon, which has really changed. I'll talk about it after, but it's really changed the industry for festivals as well in a big way. But yeah, so that's been a big change that they think somehow that has impacted them, but it really hasn't. So we're not sure what that language barrier is, but we hope to go next year, we hope.
Sometime in the 80s, they had labels made for the champagne that they gave to the pilots. Do you know the exact year?
It was many years. It was
Yeah, it was
probably
several
5 to 10
years in a
years we
row.
did it.
This was, I think, I don't know, 80s, I don't know, 83 or whatever.
They're
I'm
very
not
small
sure.
bottles too. They were not big ones. They were small
I don't
bottles.
want to get drunk on them. Yeah, so this is Walt Grishcott and Tony Fairbanks in 1993 at the 20th anniversary of the festival. And that's the painting that they gave. It was how many made? 200?
200. Yeah, it
200
says right
of those
on
were
it. I think
made.
it's
Yep.
only 200 prints.
This is the moon glow in Lake George. This photo was taken in 1997, the Glens Falls calendar for the 25th anniversary.
It's interesting because so many people still say to me, they're upset that we left the lake. But I always say there's much more to stories than people understand. Number one, we had a lot of safety concerns up there because the wind was crazy swirling around the mountains and the water. So we never knew what was going to happen. We had some years that we got the balloons up, the wind picked up, and the balloons were down. It was very hard. But then think of us, even back then, we're trying to run 100 balloons out of the airport and bring 6 to the lake. We only have so many volunteers. At that time, Walt, Joan, and I could only be in one location or the other. You can't be everywhere. And you can't try to do both and organize them. The hardest part was, believe it or not, we couldn't make any money at the lake. We are a business, people forget. We may be a not-for-profit, but we got to raise money to put the event on the next year. We lost so much money because we shut down our merchandise tent and everything so early to go to the lake. People don't realize how much money we actually gave up by shutting down the tent by 5 o'clock to be up there because we had no ability to redo a tent at the lake to try to make money. So we lost so much money having the moon glow at the lake because we didn't make any money to support the event up there. And the lake, all Lake George ever gave us was money for the pilot's dinner. So we never even got money from the village to pay for having the balloons there. So it was very, very hard. So we lost sponsors too because the balloons left because nobody really told the real story. And the story was, if it continued, the festival probably wouldn't have survived because now that we do the moon glow at the airport, that means we have 4 more hours of merchandise sales, which is a huge benefit to the festival and so much more opportunity for us to make money. And if the food vendors are making money, that means 20% of what they make comes to us. So it's just more beneficial to us keeping it at the airport. And obviously it's worked because the airport now shuts down at capacity. Sorry.
That's all right. It's about you anyway.
Let's skip it.
In Mark's page, he says, for my parents, their vision and dream for their then 2-year-old son was realized in 1995. As a new pilot, I did not meet the requirements needed to fly in the event. Walter made special arrangements with Mike Fairbanks to fly with me so we could participate. With Mom and Dad present and Lori and I in the basket, I took family affair loft from the college. That afternoon, we flew to Durkeetown. We would fly one more flight that year on Sunday morning. That Sunday afternoon, Walt and Joan asked me to join the board of directors and to help them organize the event. For the past 29 years, is what it says, well, it's probably 30 now, or 31, Mark has been putting on this event, first as a member of the board and now as president. So this is really special. This is a really special for today. So this is Bill Costin. He was the first African-American hot air balloon pilot. He says this was one of the most special days for him. On September 21st, 2001, 10 days after the tragedy of 9/11, I was honored to inflate Alan Emer's balloon at the Adirondack Balloon Festival. Alan was planning to stand on top of his balloon with a flag to honor the people who died at 9/11 and asked me if I would do the inflation. Rigging up a harness and a makeshift wooden platform, and they put that right on the top of the balloon. He rode to the top and waved the red, white, and blue for all to see. Down below on the ground, patriotic music played, and thousands of people cheered and chanted, USA, USA. That was pretty cool.
Oh,
The photo went viral. Go ahead.
keep going.
No, people are still talking about what a moment this was. Yep, and to the left is the platform.
We didn't know who was doing this. This was a surprise to us because the pilots all learned what we went through that week. Because I had a direct hotline to Chuck Schumer's office because FAA grounded everything. We were canceled. We were canceling everything. We were in the process of shutting down the event, shutting down hotels, shutting down everything. Nothing we could do. FAA was not going to allow the event. It's the status we were in. I believe we found out it was either 3 or 4 days before. This is after having started the process that one of Chuck Schumer's top aides called and said, hold everything. Just hold everything. No further word, just hold everything. And the next day we were the first national event of its kind after 9/11. People don't realize that, but we were really in some ways, the test case of reopening spectator type events.
What a wonderful tribute too.
Yeah. And then, so for me and Walter, what we went through is to see this after what we went through that week, it was like, oh my God, it was, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sadly, Alan was, as Amy said earlier too, one of our very first pilots. He's sadly passed away, but yeah, it was very, you could hear a pin drop at that airport. You could hear a pin drop that morning. Climbed up the side of the balloon. No, outside of it.
And like as it was coming up, he had a harness on.
Yeah.
And
You could see part of it.
And he was attached. Yeah, I'll never do that.
None of us will.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not at all. Not
This
at all.
Leland paper puts us on a placemat for a good 6 months after, and it went to all the local restaurants
That's
and
pretty
things.
cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Many pilots were born after attending this festival. Several pilots wrote books themselves, and there have also been documentaries made about several of these amazing balloonists. And I personally believe each pilot in this book, and probably any other balloonist, could write an entire book about their lives and adventures in ballooning. Wayne Slickler, he's the safety officer at ABF. He says, for the past 35 years, I have loved and continue to love the camaraderie, banter, and friendship that the pilots, crew, and volunteers share among each other. Wayne designed his balloon Full Count, which depicted a moment in baseball lore. So he's a pretty cool guy.
Wayne and I have a unique tradition that was started in the early days when he was still flying this. Everybody probably remembers Ramada was our headquarters for years. We did our pilot social Friday nights around the pool of the Ramada, and everybody would come out. And I would get there just before Walter or I had to speak because we were just running around for the airport. And every year, they would tell me what hotel room they're in, and half their pizza would be sitting there waiting for me so I could eat before I had to go speak.
And actually, as a surprise last year, who put it together? But they got the balloon, and Wayne inflated the balloon at the festival last year.
From Poughkeepsie, Scott Richards.
Yep. So that was pretty cool.
It was so emotional for Wayne and his wife. It was very special.
Yeah. He also got engaged in his balloon too, which is.
And now today, Wayne can't fly anymore because he has a bad back. So he's on our board of directors and is our safety officer of the event. And Lori, his wife, is on our merchandise committee and does not leave the merchandise tent from Thursday afternoon till Sunday morning.
Yeah. Good people. This is Joan Grishka, Bill Costin, and Paul Stump.
Paul was an NFL player, correct? Or
Bill was.
Or Bill was, yes, that's what I meant. And it was in the NFL prior to being a balloonist.
Yep.
He's 6'6", I think.
Yeah, he's pretty tall. So this is one of the festival's photographer, Aaron Coker, took this a few years back. I'm not sure the exact date.
Aaron's taken many wonderful photos.
Yes, he has. So Ken Leota, the bow tie balloon called Surprise, took out an ad in the program and had a banner made for the side of his balloon celebrating his and Janet's 25th wedding anniversary, which you can see on the side of that. That was pretty cool. And that's a pretty cool picture. The other balloon coming up behind it, the clown. So here's just a few of the volunteers at ABF. These were taken in the apparel tent before opening. Mark and Holly, Michelle, Allison, Scott, Lori, Mark Robertson, Dave Bell, Karen Robertson's missing, and they're a lot of actually fun to work with, and they work really hard. They're pretty cool people. This is a photo that Will Cook took of Buttercup, Friendship, Flex, Folly 5, and Friends.
See.
So that's Joe's balloon.
My better half's balloon.
Yep, Joe Schwarman.
Joseph, where are you?
Don't know. It's up there.
Hiding.
He's hiding. Your balloon made it. This is another photo that Aaron took, Gallery 9 North photo. That's his, but he took it for the festival. We're getting there, guys. I believe this is Gus Karianis' photo. He's also a member of the photo team.
Now heading it up.
Yep. And the balloon on the left is a more recent home-built balloon. You can see how they've evolved over the years, right? They're so pretty now.
It's the way to go today.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And our own Stephanie Williams in the back took this photo from Scott Kelly's Private Eye. A beautiful shot. I wanted to use it, but it just didn't have enough balloons, so sorry. It's in the book. It's just not in the front. And then I'm going to let Mark take this. This is Lynn Benevento's painting she did for the festival for the 50th anniversary. So share that.
I started thinking about the 50th at 45. It tells you anything of how my brain thinks. And the first funny story I'll tell you is literally 5 years before the festival, I'm in Lowe's, and at Christmas time, they had these gold glittered hot air balloon Christmas decorations this tall. You know, I wanted them. I needed them. Except they were $125. So not happening. Well, until December 27th, when they went on clearance for $32. So I came home with these 3 huge boxes and then called our friend Pam, and she went to the stores in Albany, and we ended up with 4 of them, thank God. And I come home, Joe's like, what are we going to do with these things? I said, you're not doing anything with them. They can't be touched. They're for the 50th. So everybody thought I was crazy. So they stayed in the garage and stayed in the boxes for 5 years. And they were the backdrop of our 50th anniversary gala. They were everywhere, and they were amazing. They looked beautiful.
I should have had a picture of that.
They were just stunning. So as I thought about what to do for the 50th, obviously we knew we were going to do a gala. And what was so special, and people don't realize this because everybody was asking, why didn't you do a gala this year? I don't think anybody realizes we had no extra volunteers last year. We only have about 20 to 30 people put this entire event on. Put on an event like this in addition to the normal event and a veteran pilot event on top of that gala event. It was astounding what this group pulled off. It was just astounding. It ended up being one of the biggest events Highland Park's ever hosted, almost 500 people. We sold out in 2 days. But we also subsidized the event. It took almost 20 years to build the reserves to make last year happen, because we spent $100,000 more than we usually do. And it was hard because we got great occupancy tax this year, but we were denied last year our additional funding for bed tax for our anniversary. So thank God we at least got it this year to help our reserves, because we were denied last year. So that helped the cause a lot to at least preserve more of the future. But anyway, so I wanted everybody from this community to be able to come, because this was a celebrating the community and the festival. It's a community's festival. Nobody owns this but the community. And we had to honor Whiteman's, Glens Falls National, and Harvest, who have been with us for 50 years. All 50 years. They were honored. We honored the town of Queensbury, Warren County, and then we honored our most senior pilots. Carol Teetsworth, who Amy talked about, has been with us 47 years, 47 of the 50. Russ Barber was at like 42. Paul Stump, that mentioned a lot, was right behind Carol, I want to say like 45. So we did poster boards of all the history of those pilots as well. And I have found an artisan that works with metal from Seattle, Washington, believe it or not. I found him at a kiosk in the Burlington Mall. A friend of his was doing a Christmas kiosk. And he made this beautiful metal, small metal sculpture of hot air balloon scene like this. So I bought it. It's in our mudroom. But then I found out how to reach him directly. And I reached out to him and said, can you do something just for me? Now, I called this guy out of the blue. No idea who I was. So he's like, he vetted me for sure, because it took 2 days to call him back. He said, you're for real, aren't you? I said, yeah, I'm for real. He checked me out. So within 2 days, he created me a template and created a special balloon scene that said Adirondack Balloon Festival 50 years. And every pilot got this round sculpture as their gift. So we took it a step further. I said, I need something bigger. I need something for our county, for our town, and for our 50-year sponsors. So he took the sculpture I had on our wall and blew it up this big. So we presented that to Warren County, the town of Queensbury, and to our 3 50-year sponsors. So I don't know where Glens Falls National put it, but I can tell you at Whiteman's, it's right behind Amy, CEO's desk, right in her office, because she made me come in and help her hang it. At Harvest, it's in the bar. If you go to Harvest, it's in the bar. You can see it in the bar at Harvest. And I can tell you the county, I don't know, Ben, did you know if they put it up anywhere yet? They talked about the supervisor's room. I'm not sure if it ended up there or not, but they talked about it. And I presented the one to the town of Queensbury just this past Monday. So there, John is, just to talk about John a little bit, he is the first politician who truly cares about this event. I can just say he started as our liaison, I want to say about 8 years ago. And then he was kicked off as our liaison with political reasons. But I said, please stay. You don't have to be a liaison to be on this committee. And at my request, he stayed. And he has opened more doors and provided more influence for getting a little more respect from the county than we've ever had before. And it's just been, he's been a blessing. He's opened doors to get meetings and things that I could never accomplish. And that's one of the hardest things is we are not paid promoters. We're a different event, but we get classified like every other event, and it's just not fair. We're not like every other event. And it's just hard for people to realize that. But John sees it because he now lives it with us. He lives every aspect of it with us, and he's just been wonderful to have with us. So anyway, I'm sidebar too long about it. So in the early part of the planning for 23, I don't want to say, it was probably March. I called Lynn on a whim. Haven't talked to you in a while. I got an idea to run by you. Now, she had closed her gallery years earlier in Lake Luzerne because she retired. She remarried, and her and John started traveling the country. They go on 3-month excursions to like Prince Edward Island, I think was last year. They just go on wonderful excursions everywhere. So we had a great chat, and I said, I need you for something. What? Now, Lynn started the art show. She is the person who started the art show at the airport. And I want your vision of the 50th. And said, I want you to do a painting for the 50th. I said, Mark, I haven't picked up a paintbrush in 2 years. I can't do that. She said, I am so flattered on it. I just can't do it. I don't paint anymore. I just can't do it. So I said, I get it. I understand. You've moved on. You've gone on. So we keep talking for a while, and then we hang up, say goodnight, and that's that. 15 minutes, the phone rings. I can't say no to you. You know I can't say no to you. So the subsequent 2 days, John drove her to the airport. Then they started driving in Washington County. And she twice called me and said, what do you want me to do? I said, I don't want you to do anything. This is your vision, not my vision. I want your vision because you are the artist. I'm a bean counter by trade. I don't do any of that stuff. So they drive her to Washington County, and she's on 149 behind Hartford School. And she yells at John, stop the car. And she saw this scene without the balloons, made him pull in. The only thing that's different is she put that path for the chase vehicles to get into the field. You see it. That's an actual field she saw where she put the tractor path in, so because the chase vehicles have to have a way to get in. That's how much Lynn has learned about painting. I am honored. One of my retirement gifts when I left CWI is at the time TD Bank was closing the downtown branch. And Emily, the manager, had Lynn's first painting on the wall of her office. And she got permission from corporate to give me that painting. So I now have her first original painting in my home office. So it's absolutely wonderful. So, and I'm also blessed to say, I'll lose it. As some of you know, I didn't no time to do anything at the gala. I didn't even eat, for God's sakes. But Joe, these guys went behind my back and did on this for me. So it's in my house.
Yep.
What's also special about this is you purposely put specific balloons in here that you just you'll understand this because only Lynn understood this. These are R2 balloons right there, which I don't fly in the event anymore. So this is very special. I haven't flown the event in years. So to put my balloon in there meant the world to me. That's R2 balloons. This is Bob Dix, our balloon meister. And she put our logo of the event on the balloon and put it in as a banner. This is more of our local balloons. That's Mark Pluta from Saratoga and Rob Swinton from Queensbury. But that used to be, and Lynn knew this, that used to be Russ Barber who taught me how to fly. when she did this generational. It's amazing the thought that went into this, because she also put her favorite shapes, but from different decades. She did a painting of Tracy's jack-o'-lantern balloon in a cornfield probably about 10 years ago. So Lynn did that painting. She flew with Rob in the strawberry balloon probably 15 years ago. She had the strawberry balloon in there. She always knew Mark Studolsky, so wanted his balloon in there. This is from the 80s, Benihana balloon, Rock Karaoke. She put him in there. The bees, one of the most popular shapes we've ever had, the two bees together. Those three balloons up there, we did what's called an intercontinental race, which was Saga, us, and a French-Canadian balloon. That was 90s, maybe? In the 90s. Sunny Boy, another one of our favorites. Dick Young, who's from Lake George. Hopper is probably the most identifiable balloon ever in this event. That was one of the very first home-built balloons. Started flying here in the late 70s. They added a whole different set of panels to it to make it a more, it's a bigger balloon, but no, it looks like more of a bullet. And they increased the capacity of the balloon probably halfway through its life. And she put the Spirit of Glens Falls in the corner. And going a step further back, another of our first shapes, the polar bear in the barn. And then look way in the distance, Punchinello, the very first balloon that flew it in Queensbury. So she truly captured 50 years in this. So she did a stunning job.
And the bunny's name.
It spoke volumes, I think, to everybody who saw it.
Yes, awesome.
Sorry, I get emotional,
No, you're
passionate,
good.
as you know. Next year, I didn't know that.
Well done. This is the program cover.
1974.
1974 picture, and
From
you
the
wanted
college.
this because it was just the
Well,
50th,
It
and
was patriotic. I wanted the quality of it. People understood when they saw it, that doesn't look like good quality. For 1974, it's not good quality.
yeah,
To
for
get that
sure.
as glossy as it was, took a lot of work, but with Glens Falls printing, I said, don't push it. I want people to understand where the picture's from.
Yep.
College loved it. The folks at the college loved it.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we went to that nostalgia. We also, the other event we did that Amy was a big part of is we welcomed back all of our early pilots and invited them to come. We couldn't pay for it, but we put a special event on for them. Our hope was, we talked to Chris Duffy about, can we pull off a flight out of the college? We wanted to have a flight out of the college part of it. But she talked to the faculty in the union and got no support, unfortunately. The college is so different than it was then. I mean, you have the dorms and there's so many more buildings. There's not easy access in and out. It's so more scattered and more buildings. It just would have been very hard. So what we did is we booked the event center to have a luncheon for the veteran pilots. So we did a couple-hour event of hosting them off for luncheon, showing our nostalgia. They spoke, we gave some awards, and the Balloon Federation of America came and gave some of their awards for the senior pilots. And it ended up being a very special luncheon. Sadly, I didn't get to stay for the whole thing because I had to go sign the county contract. So Amy was there, and
Yeah,
you want to talk more about that?
yeah, it was really good.
Yes.
Some of the original pilots
Yeah,
were there.
and
in the very
I hear they
first
still
year.
talk about it. They still
Yes.
talk about what we did for them.
For sure. So I'll finish up. I'm done. There are so many stories I could share. I could go on and on. It's a special
Yeah.
book, a keepsake, a memento to those who have flown in this wonderful event over the past now 51 years. There was one more section I really wanted to get into about the volunteers, but I ran out of time. And there were also some pilots who reached out after the book went to the printers, but unfortunately that they were too late too. I love this festival. I truly do. If you plan on coming this year or in the coming years, please be patient with the traffic. The county's in charge of that, not the festival, and they're doing the best that they can. There are tens of thousands of people who come and enjoy this event. The weather, even if it's not raining, there could be fog or wind. The organizers have no control over the weather. Their main objective is to get these balloons safely in the air, and I emphasize safely. I hope you've enjoyed a glimpse into the pilot memoirs. There's so much history within these pages. For those of you who currently have the book, I hope you enjoy reading it and learning about these amazing balloonists who have taken to the skies at the Adirondack Balloon Festival. And for those who don't have a copy, there's still a couple available. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is amazing. She did an amazing job at the PowerPoint, man. It's stunning. So what's going on for this year? Well, just some background, because we talked about what's the background of what goes on with this. We are 501c6. We are a not-for-profit, but we pay sales tax like everybody else does. We could have been a tax exempt 501c3, but our purpose is different because our purpose is to support the county and support tourism. So we want to contribute in many ways. It's what our role is. So we do pay sales tax, but there's not a paid person on our staff. We have one commissioned salesperson that does just nothing but ad and sponsorship sales. But myself, Amy, my sister Lori, can't do this without her, we don't get a penny. I don't fly commercially anymore. I don't fly for fun. I don't even book a balloon ride at the festival. So it tells you my mother's the reason I'm standing here. I should say my mother and my second mother, Joan. But we also have this standing gig where I have very important assignment in the next 2 days is I have to distribute the first pins. The pins have arrived. And the pins go to two very special places, the Queensbury Cemetery and the St. Mary Cemetery. They go to Walton Joan and to my parents. And the first pins sit on their graves. So those were the first pins. It's fitting. The picture Amy showed of my first balloon is the picture that's on my parents' stone. It's very beautiful. And Walter and Joan Stone, if you've never seen it, is also another beautiful balloon scene. It's absolutely stunning. I was very honored, and I wish I brought it because I often still am asked to read this. I spoke at Joni's funeral, and I don't know if any of you have read it, but I highly recommend it, especially if you have grandchildren. The book called Be Who You're Meant to Be. It's a children's book, and it's about a bunch of kids. Now, I'm passionate about people with disabilities, I think, as you all know, but the book talks about kids of all races, kids of all abilities. There's kids in wheelchairs, blind children, deaf children, and it's how to make a balloon. And I took that book and did a parody on it, and that became Joan's eulogy. And I had it printed in, I think it was the year she died. We I think I had to print it in the program. I've been asked to say that more times because it was just so fitting. And I obviously could barely get it out that day, but it was very special. It was really cool honor. So anyway, we start meeting probably around March and April every year, kicking around ideas, because yes, we do need a break. We'll still meet through October. Just people think it's over in September. It's not. It's really not over till November, December, because we're still pounding on doors trying to get payments from sponsors and trying to get the vendors to pay us. Every vendor on the field, the food vendors have to give us 20% of their proceeds. It's befitting for what we do for them, you know. The craft fair is run by Zonta, and half of what they make comes to us, and they keep the other half. So we have some really awesome relationships. I mean, Zonta, I think Christy told me they now have about 50 vendors. They usually end up raising about $10,000 for us. It's pretty amazing what they give us. The art show, believe it or not, started with about 5 to 6 artists. I'm so happy to say Tom Myatt from South Glens Falls, who was an art teacher, now just retired. He has a gallery at Troy Shirt Factory too. He did this year's logo. I will give him a tout for that. He did this year's logo for free. For free. You have no idea. We always like to have a local artist do their rendition, but it's very rare for someone to say we'll do it for free. And he does our art show will raise $5,000 to $10,000 for us. And this year he's doubling the size of it. We've got twice the size tent for him. So that speaks to the number of artists. And they all know they have to, I told them, you got to give us extra 5% this year because we had to pay for a bigger tent. So you got to get the money from somewhere, Tom. Come on. So they're giving us 25% this year because we're going from a 20 by 20 to a 20 by 40 tent to cover them. So, and it just, I can't tell you the relationships that developed just with Amy and Whiteman's. It just, I've never had a situation where a sponsor called to me to check on me. 2 weeks before the event, she'll start checking on me every 2 to 3 days just to see how I'm doing. What do you need? And one of the most amazing stories I can tell you is what she did when we were in crisis. Probably it's been 8 to 10 years now. Our mobile office becomes a 53-foot U-Haul starting this Monday. That U-Haul will first go to the storage unit we rent for 2 months to pick up what is this year. We're spending $50,000 on merchandise because we sold out of everything last year. I usually keep 2 totes of stuff for when the Japanese come or someone comes to visit as gifts. There's nothing left. We have nothing left. We sold out of everything we had. Sunday morning, people were desperate to buy anything we had left, and it's all gone. So not only do we have to buy for this year, we have to do some replenishing. So that's what's making the festival go. If it weren't for occupancy tax, number one, the county before occupancy tax used to pay for the light towers, porta potties, and with the advent of occupancy tax, that evolved into paying for, still pays for those things, but in a different route. I've always gotten 40 to 50,000. We actually got 40's been our traditional amount. It was up to 50 last year. We requested 90, but we didn't get it. We only got to 50. So I'm very pleased to say they're kind of making up for it this year and giving us 100,000 to help cover what we incurred and helping us with that. The town of Queensbury, we had $15,000 from them, and John went out of his way last year. We were surprised at the cost of printing the book. It was more than we ever anticipated, and John stepped up. The town stepped up and gave us an extra $3,000 to cover the addition that we didn't anticipate for the book. He has stepped up last year. We had the Japanese on the hook. We thought they were coming. Queensbury was going to pay for the shipping of the balloon from Japan. And if we go next year, they're going to help pay for that next year. I just can't speak enough about how much he is the biggest cheerleader for us as far as political people go. Just the support there is amazing. Last year was also very special in another way, in that because we had so many balloons here early, we don't tell people this, so please don't tell everybody and their brother. We have a balloons fly Friday morning. We don't tell people, because what I do all next week is I blast to the media, come and fly with us to promote the event. So I try to get all the networks up here for Friday morning to go live to promote the weekend. And as long as there's not breaking news, we usually succeed. Well, last year, we usually have 10 balloons, maybe 12, something like that. And it's either out of Crandall Park or the airport. Don't tell people that. This is an inside story. So we don't want people there. It's really meant for the media and to be exclusive. People know it now, and they do come out. But anyway, we had very little media because there was a fire in Albany. So we were screwed. They were going to go to the fire before they come to us, sadly. But it gave me an amazing opportunity, because I've got all these balloons and they're committed to flying somebody for us, or if they're going to fly in the media flight. We were able to fly 28 members of our volunteer fire and rescue squads. Yeah. My first call was to Kevin Hadros to try to get the supervisors and county directors up. Unfortunately, it was too little notice to get anybody up. We got the mayor of Glens Falls up that morning, and then all the fire and rescue guys were there. And it's amazing. We always had a strange relationship, and I can never figure out why. Well, the year before, we did a special meeting to try to solve it. So they started asking us for payment. They thought I got a salary of $50,000 to put on the event. That was what they were told and thought. So Anne Marie from Emergency Services laughed, and I was dumbfounded. I said, guys, why don't you go and look at our federal 990? It's filed. You can look on GuideStar. Look under the compensation of what we pay in compensation. They were dumbfounded to see what I make to put on this event. Dumbfounded. Suddenly, that changed our relationship forever. So when I did this, 28 of them flew. They came back, and I got more hugs from them than I've ever seen in my life. So it's just amazing what that did. And I'm so honored we were able to do that. It ended up, sorry, Ben, it was for the better that I could fly them, because they're so dedicated. Can't put on the event without them. And yeah, I got to shut up. No, I'm going everywhere. So this is important. So the 53-foot truck. So it becomes a mobile office. We pick up all the apparel. Then we go to Mohan's, we pick up all the champagne. People don't know we get 100 cases of water from Price Chopper. Each pilot gets a case of water as their gifts from us. Then we pick up, what else? This U-Haul goes everywhere. It's full by the time we get to Crandall Park. So it stays in my house because it's all loaded, sometimes in my basement, and God knows it won't affect a marriage. But I'll tell you, he's a good sport. Anyway, so Dave Bell, one of our volunteers, is a truck driver, so it's his job. He takes the U-Haul and runs with it, and I'm following him, and he pulls over near Harvest. The truck died. This is Thursday at 3 p.m. on our way to Crandall Park to set up. Truck is full. The entire balloon festival is in this truck. Oh boy. My first call is to Amy. Within 15 minutes, There are 7 mechanics and auto body guys and 4 brand new cargo vans. They did all the loading. And the public never knew any of this happened. Never knew any of this happened. And you want to talk about that was amazing. That it's
Special.
never looking back from that. That's one of the most special things that's ever happened. And I made sure the press knew about it too. The Saratogian did an amazing story. She was so thankful because she lives in Saratoga. So she saw it first thing that morning as opposed to the Post-Star, who didn't even cover it for me, which
You gotta show your shirt.
so
You gotta show the shirt.
and so yes, I do have to say this too, because this is your sneak peek. So as I said, Tom did the logo this year, and any promo has become a very loyal supporter and does so much work with our merchandise team. Holly Durvage and Michelle Swinton and Lori Sickler spend so much time designing things. This is one of this year's design shirts. Every year we try to do unique things and sponsors things. I can tell you there's also going to be
Yeah, down the
something
arm.
very, very special. And this year's pilot gift is a stunning item. If anybody ever been to J.K. Adams in Dorset on the way to Manchester? Well, we have a condo up in Stowe, so we go to that area a lot, and Cabot has a factory outlet in Waterbury. In that area, there's also a outlet of stores, a lot of Vermont stores, Vermont flannels in there. Well, there's also a display for Simon Pierce and one for J.K. Adams and other places. And J.K. Adams display, I walked by and said, they had this cutting board that had a fly fisherman in this little creek in a scene with mountains and clouds and birds. I'm like, there it is. So I came home, I called over there, and thank God, the girl that answered has been to the event. She knew everything. She became my best friend on the phone. So she agreed to meet with me the next day. So then she calls me and says, Mark, I have a crisis. My son's been injured. I got to go. But Adam's here. He'll meet with you. He does everything with me, so it'll be fine. So we go over. I have no idea who Adam is now. We go into this draft room in the back, and Adam, I thought it was a draftsman, his office. We start talking, what can we afford? What can we do? I said to her, I'm tired of giving jackets and sweatshirts. Every event, I can tell you I have closets full of jackets and sweatshirts from balloon festivals. You just get tired of it. So I'm starting last year, I try to get like gifts they want to leave to their kids, things that are going to be well taken care of. So he took us in the back and basically got on a computer that's hooked up to an etching machine. And he said, I'm going to type, but you tell me what you want me to do. And so he brought up the fly fisherman, and we turned that into a balloon scene over the Adirondacks. So the pilots, they don't even know this. And, only our committee knows this, so you really can't say anything. They are getting a charcuterie board with this etched in it. And those pilots, I also have to, sadly, we now also have to spend money to get pilots to do the moon glow. They used to do it for free, but sadly, all the promoter of paid events give them up to $500 to do that. So we're forced to spend more money that we really don't have, but we have to do it. So we don't give them 500, we give them 150 to 200, depending on our budget. But I try to lure them with a gift. So they never know what it's going to be. So it's sort of like Sunday morning, if you don't do the glow, maybe you'll just find out from someone else. So this year is going to be a serving platter with that design etched in it. J.K. Adams made. So come to find out, this gentleman who I met with had to leave us very quickly to fly out to an event. Well, he didn't tell us. He gave me his card and we left and told me to contact us because he'd be out for 3 weeks. I didn't even look at his card until I got home. Well, it turned out to be Adam Siegel. Well, Adam Siegel is the CEO of J.K. Adams. Never told me. And he was going to the Williams-Sonoma National Trade Show because they do all the woodwork for Williams-Sonoma. So they took 2 weeks in August and fit in our project before they started Williams-Sonoma for Christmas. So they are sponsoring one of our 2 major sponsors this year with with white boots. So so they're coming over Saturday morning and he's going to speak to the pilots. It's
Wonderful.
that weekend he's sorry, this is that weekend's gonna be Adirondack Balloon Festival at days at the store. 20% off everybody, and they'll etch anything for free. He has also made these smaller serving platters that we will be selling on our merchandise tab. Limited, very, very limited edition. To be honest, he's only making 36 because my biggest fear is,
They're early.
are they going, I just don't know if they'll sell or not. That's my biggest fear. But 50% of it goes to us.
So,
They're gonna sell for, they're not huge. They're $39, $49, $59. The biggest ones like this. But if you know J.K. Adams, you know this is, you're not going to get better quality than this. This is handmade. It's just amazing. And he says, stop worrying about it. I said, if they sell Thursday, text me. We'll shut down and we'll make your stuff Friday to sell for the weekend. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you for real? So literally, and he said, I'm coming Saturday morning. We'll make it Friday. I'll deliver them. So if we sell out Thursday, he's going to make them so we have them for the weekend.
that's great.
And then he says, whatever I make doesn't sell, they're yours. Give them to your sponsors. Pinch me. This just doesn't happen. This just doesn't happen. So those are just very rare occasions of things that just happen to us. So I've been, last year, believe it or not, the Burlington, Vermont CBS station was here. Burlington, Vermont went live with this event. We've never had that before. So we're up there a lot. So I found the contact for the lead anchor up there. We were alumni of the same college, so I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, let's do a feel-good story. Will you help me? And see if he'll do a tout for J.K. Adams and us. If they came last year, maybe I can get them on the hook to come again.
Yeah.
And promote us and them at the same time. But it's
Wonderful.
pretty. Last year, we were on the Weather Channel for 2 weekends before the event, 30-second spots. We were in the Sunday edition of the New York Times. I just had to approve a mural, believe it or not, in JFK. Terminal 5 JetBlue has a mural on the rolling walkway of the Adirondack Balloon Festival. Sadly, it says South Glens Falls. I don't know. I didn't do that. Close enough, in my opinion. It's live there. It's live there. But as I tell to, I will say to Warren County Tourism cannot pay for the promotion we give them. They cannot pay the amount of money that we get for free. It's all out of love and passion. So. That's why we do this and continue to do it. So I'll shut up if you want. If anybody has questions, they can talk to me on the